The Boeing 747, an icon of the skies, often called the Queen of the Skies. With four powerful engines and a massive wingspan, it stands as a symbol of human innovation and courage. For years, it has carried millions of passengers across continents, over oceans, and through storms. But on this one fateful day, everything changed. The events that would follow would plunge passengers, crew, and the aviation world into an unimaginable nightmare. It was an ordinary day in Dubai. The sky was clear, the heat of the desert sun beat down on the city, and the rhythm of life was unbroken. The Boeing 747 had just taken off, bound for its destination with every expectation of a routine flight. The passengers on board were settling in, some already drifting to sleep, others engrossed in their screens or chatting softly with the ones beside them. Suddenly, the hum of the engines, usually a comforting background sound, was shattered by a jolt. A deep, metallic groan reverberated through the aircraft. The passengers looked up, confusion and fear spreading across their faces. Within moments, the groan turned into a violent shudder, and the plane began to shake. The cabin lights flickered, then went out, plunging everyone into darkness. The air was thick with panic. Screams echoed through the cabin as oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling, bouncing around like pendulums. Flight attendants struggled to calm the passengers, their own faces pale with terror, yet they held on to their training, offering whatever comfort they could. In the cockpit, the pilots fought with the controls, their minds racing as they tried to assess the damage. An engine had failed, and the loss of one engine on a plane this size could spell disaster. But before they could regain control, a second engine failed. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. They were staring at a situation that every pilot dreads but trains for nonetheless, a catastrophic failure with little chance of recovery. As the 747 descended, the pilots wrestled with the controls, trying everything in their power to keep the plane level. But the ground was approaching fast and there was no time left. With heavy hearts, they issued a mayday call, a last, desperate cry for help. Outside, on the ground, people in Dubai looked up in horror. The enormous aircraft was careening toward them, descending like a falling star, plumes of smoke trailing behind it. Inside, passengers braced for impact, clutching their seats, hands, and prayers. In those final seconds, some whispered goodbyes, others closed their eyes, hoping for a miracle. And then, with a deafening crash, the 747 hit the ground. The impact sent a shockwave through the cabin. Seats were torn from the floor, luggage scattered like debris, and the plane buckled under the force. Flames erupted almost instantly, fueled by the plane's massive fuel reserves. The Inferno spread quickly, devouring the metal, the seats, and the air around it. Black smoke filled the cabin, making it almost impossible to breathe. Yet in this hellish scene there were those who moved. Passengers and crew who fought against the overwhelming smoke and the intense heat, searching for exits, seeking survivors. Amid the chaos, a group of passengers managed to push open an emergency exit. They helped each other out, forming a chain of hands, guiding one another through the smoke and flames. Outside, first responders arrived, rushing to save as many as they could. They approached the wreckage cautiously, shielding their faces from the searing heat. They knew time was against them. Every second counted. One by one, survivors emerged, some with burns, others covered in soot, all with wide, haunted eyes. But for many, the fire was unrelenting. The Inferno consumed, and there was no escape. Friends, families, strangers, all caught in a tragedy beyond their control. As dawn approached, the sun rose over the smoldering wreckage, casting an eerie glow over the scene. First responders worked tirelessly through the night, searching for survivors, comforting the injured, and honoring the fallen. In the aftermath, the story of this crash spread across the world. Families grieved, nations mourned, and questions arose. What had caused this tragic failure? How could an aircraft of such renown, with every safety protocol in place, succumb to disaster? The investigation that followed uncovered a chain of failures, a complex web of technical faults and rare events. But even these answers could not heal the wounds left behind. The memories of that fateful flight, the horror, the courage, the heartbreak, these would remain with those who survived and with the loved ones of those who did not. And so, as the world moves on, this story of the Boeing 747 that crashed in Dubai remains a somber reminder. A reminder that even the most advanced machines are still vulnerable, and that, in the end, what matters most is not the flight we take, but the courage we show in moments of crisis.